All right, in today's podcast, we are going to be discussing the 5 keys for a thriving relationship after 40. Gary, this is going to be a really good one. I got to say, in preparation for this podcast, I found a staggering statistic.
Doing a little research, huh?
I did. I put on my nerd glasses. Wanted to, get on your scientific level.
Welcome to the team.
It's the PhD in me. What do you want? But what I found is that 71% of women above 40 claim that they don't want a romantic relationship, compared to 42% of men. So I take from this, I'm curious on your thoughts, but I take from this that women past 40, when they're in their 50s and 60s and beyond, are just so discouraged. They're so deflated. Like, I don't believe that they don't want it. Right. It's that they believe that they can't have it. Right. I don't know. I'm curious on your thoughts.
Yeah, I when I saw that stat, 71%, I was like, that's sad. It's really unfortunate, right? But I think it just speaks to like one of these typical differences we see between men and women, which is men are overconfident and women don't give themselves enough credit. Right. And so you got 42% of men who are like, they're pretty confident, and it's probably should be less than that, maybe. Right. But then women, it's like 71 say, I can't do this. And it's like, no, like you're not giving yourself enough credit. And if you just had just a little bit more, a couple more skills, a little bit more insight, like there's just certain things that will give you some of that extra confidence, because I'm sure 71% in there, they're thinking, I haven't dated in a while. Things are different now. I'm, focusing on my career. Like my priorities are different. There's so much that's different. And so I don't know. I think they're not giving themselves enough credit.
I totally agree. And I mean, look, I've been at this game for now, coaching women in their love lives for about 12 to 13 years now. And when I first started, we were coaching thousands of women who were in their 20s, because I was in my 20s at the time. And every year my hair gets grayer. I feel like we continue to attract clients that are a little bit older in life, in their 40s, 50s. And now we look at our client base. I mean, we have thousands of clients who have followed this process and found love, and it's amazing to see. But so many of them are in their later season of life. And what I didn't recognize how, when you get to that stage in life, how your belief system really dictates your reality and your results. And I think one really important thing that we try to do with this podcast, and certainly with our clients, is try to reframe this stage in life as being the best time to find love, and that you can have a thriving relationship at any age. It doesn't have to be you meet a guy in your 20s. And in fact, when you're dating in your 20s, you have a whole slew of challenges that you might have forgotten about when you're dating guys who are in their 20s, right? Right. So I think there's a lot of positives here, and there's a lot of reframes that we can have.
Yeah, and I think our bread and butter client, successful, more mature. And what I really like about handling and talking to these kinds of clients is they're not just looking to pair up with anyone. They're looking to find their person, and they're not just looking for something short term. They're looking for something long term, fulfilling. They're looking to thrive. And I think that's what's nice and different about, talking to people who are a little bit more mature and not necessarily in their 20s, though there's certainly people in their 20s who are extremely mature. But it's just very clear with our clients. They're successful. They're trying to balance career, life, and their dating life all together. And I think it's just one of those things, like, let's just call it what it is. Let's be honest. Dating and relationships when you're a little bit older is just different than when you're a little bit younger. Because I think, we see with our clients, they're different. They're not as young. You have a few more wrinkles. I have one or two more wrinkles than I did 20 years ago. Maybe. No.
Got to get on the Botox train, dude.
Yeah. I got to do something. I definitely have to do something.
Don't get on the Botox. Quick side note, by the way, for those listeners who probably noticed this, Jessica got me to do Botox like 4 years ago. And I did my forehead up here, and I shot a bunch of videos like the next week. And what happened is they did too much Botox. So every time I smiled, I actually, for those who are just listening, like my eyebrows went up in a weird way into this like demon style look from like a devil every time I'd smile. And all the comments were like, bro, you need to relax on the Botox. Like, never again. Not happening. I'm going to embrace my wrinkles.
I'm sorry I missed that phase of Botox, Adam.
Dude, I'll send you a video. I don't want this to turn into a thing, but I'm terrified. I'm terrified. Embrace the wrinkles.
Embrace it, right? Because like when you're a little bit older, I don't know, like you're tired, you're busy, you got a ton of demands. You're going to go hit the club, but it's going to be Costco or Sam's Club. It's not like the club. Right, you're going to stay up late, but late now is 9:30. It's not 2 a.m. anymore. And so, because you're different, your life is different. It's no wonder that your dating and relationship life is going to be different too.
Yeah. So if there's anyone listening here who falls into that 71% category of women who perhaps are telling themselves that they don't want a relationship and it comes from a place of fear rather than openness, hopefully by the end of today's podcast, you can have a little bit of a path forward to believing in love again, believing that it's possible, believing that you can find that person who's right for you, who's your equal, that you can really spend the rest of your life with. Because we know, just based on our experience, we come from a very unique perspective, having worked with so many women at this age group, that it's absolutely possible. We just need to shift, our kind of frame of reference and how we're looking at things. So we'll jump into what Gary calls the 5 S's, the keys to successful dating after 40. Gary, let's jump into it, dude.
Yeah, so this first S is a mindset one, which I always think it's important to start with mindset first, right? And so the first S is to have a stubborn approach to love, a little stubborn love. Shout out to the Lumineers. But so stubborn love in a good way, right? It's a determination to stick with things even though it's going to be a little bit hard, because let's be honest, life is going to happen. Life's going to get in the way. It's going to be tough, but your determination and dedication to finding love, falling in love, dating, you've just got to be a little bit tougher, right? And so this is a mindset where it's a refusal to give up, even when things get hard. You're going to work through challenges. And let's be honest, this is why you're successful in life. You have used this stubborn tenacity to get you where you're at now. And it's time to apply the same mindset to your love life.
Yeah. I mean, something I was writing this morning about the power of focus, and I was going to talk to some of our Lux clients about this later tonight. But, something I was writing is that motivation is very common, but consistency is quite rare. And we can feel motivated at certain times, like, okay, I want to get out there, I want to find love, I want to go do this thing. And then it's fleeting. And a lot of people will experience that in the early part of the year because it's like new year, new you. But if you can stay consistent and stay ruthlessly stubborn through this process and realize that when you're dating, you're going to run into challenges. When you're in a relationship, even that perfect guy, oh my God, is he so perfect? In 3 months, you're going to have some challenges. Right. Things are going to come up. I guarantee it. He's going to leave those cabinet doors open when he cooks dinner for you. It's going to be very annoying, or worse, he could have a temper. There are many things that might come up. But really allowing yourself to be kind of stubborn through this process and ensuring that, you set yourself up for success, I think is the key to all this.
Absolutely. And I think, some kind of related to being stubborn, but you don't want to take it too far, is the second S, which is this idea of self-expansion. Self-expansion is this idea of like growing, learning, and changing as a person. It's about becoming better. And so when we say stubborn, we mean like stubborn in terms of sticking on the path, not stubborn in this is how I am and I will never change. Because we know with our clients, there's always room for improvement. That's how I approach my life. This is like one of those things. I definitely practice what I preach with the importance of self-expansion. I'm constantly looking like, where can I get a little bit better? Where can I improve on? What skills can I learn? What insights can I obtain? Like what mindsets can I shift a little bit? Because, and I say this to our clients all the time, you are not a finished product. Right. Neither is your partner. And so, a lot of times the mistake people make in dating is they focus on who am I right now and who is my partner right now. Now you have to focus on that to some extent because that's what the information you have. But here's what you also have to focus on. Trajectory. Where are both of you going? Right? And you want to be with a person who wants to grow and change and improve. And so the key here to being successful in dating when you're a little bit old is seek out opportunities for what I call nice activities. A nice activity is something that's novel, interesting, challenging, and exciting, right? cool stuff, fun stuff to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, for whatever reason, as a society, we believe that all of our learning in life happens when we're in college. It's like after college, okay, you are who you are and that's it. And, certainly in my 20s, I went through an experience of self-expansion. But I got to say, maybe it's because we're part of a coaching company and we run a coaching company. But I feel like the past decade has been the greatest growth of my life. And I hope to continue with that. I know I'm only hitting 40 this year. But I hope, I know the gray hairs are really coming in. But finding people who are also dedicated to a life full of expansion is the key, because your starting out point, it could be the same right now, but if he is stagnant and you're growing, guess what? In 10 years, you're not going to be on the same page, or vice versa, So you are definitely not a finished product. Now, the third S I want to jump into is say something. You got something on your mind. You're probably a lot more comfortable stating your opinions on things, like a lot of different things in your life. But what about those really uncomfortable or difficult conversations? Are you willing to have those? Are you willing to talk about the things that matter in relationships? Are you willing to have a conversation about those things that, you kind of stuff on under the rug? You don't want to talk about it. He was really rude to the server when you went out one night. He said something to you that was condescending. Are you willing to have those conversations and set the stage? Set kind of the boundary and set the clear standards of how we do things in this relationship. And at the end of the day, every relationship has the same solution: communication. You got to talk about it. Keep small problems small. Share those feelings, when they come up, those needs, those thoughts, and you can do it with clarity and kindness, but don't hold back on those things that really matter to you, whether it's about those future plans, the things you really want to work towards, the things that are important to you and your value system, or even the things that are small, such as where you want to go for dinner, right? Keep the small things small.
Yeah, and I think the more something matters to you, the sooner you need to bring it up, right? So clients will often say, I really like this guy. Things are going amazing. I don't want to bring up this issue about fill in the blank. Whatever it happens, maybe it's something about religion. It's often about kids or dealing with family members or this thing about their past or whatever it is, fill in the blank. But the more it matters to you, the more important it is, the sooner you want to bring it up. And I think the other really nice shift you want to make is don't treat potential disagreements as potential relationship wreckers. Treat them as opportunities. They're opportunities to better understand your partner, to work collaboratively for the two of you to solve the problem together. And as you conquer each problem, you just gain more skills. It's going to make the next conversation, the next uncomfortable conversation, a little more comfortable. It gets easier and easier to be like, hey, by the way, we need to talk about this. And if you're accustomed to talking about things, it's like, no big deal. Of course, yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll solve this. We'll move on and we'll be stronger for it.
Yeah, absolutely. This reminds me of a client. This came up a few months ago, but she was dating a new guy, and she's a very worldly person. I mean, she's traveled to, I don't know, probably 30, 40 countries in her life. She loves to travel, and it's a huge part of her life. And she sees that as her future throughout her retirement days. She really wants to just travel the world and see the world. But she was dating this guy, and he said something to her maybe on the fifth or sixth date. They weren't brand new, but they were kind of just getting started. They certainly weren't exclusive. And he said, I'm kind of a homebody. I really don't like to travel that much. It's not really my thing. And she brought this challenge to me because she's like, should I say something? What should I do with this situation? Because I feel like there could be a real problem here, but I really like this guy. I don't want to lose him. And so, Gary, you might imagine the answer is absolutely talk about this. Now is the time to have a pretty direct conversation about how it is that you see your life in the future and where he sees his life going. And the best part is she brought the conversation to him, just talking about a place of where she wants to see her life go in the next 10 years. And she was just like, look, in the next 10 years, I want to travel the world. There's nothing I enjoy more of. And something you said the other night kind of threw me off, where you discussed you don't really like to travel, and you're not really the type that loves to get on planes. And he's like, well, I got to say, I kind of have a fear of flying. I actually love to travel. I have a fear of flying. And the interesting thing is they then started work. He's like, I actually do want to see other cultures and other places. I just have this weird like phobia of it. And they started working towards together this partnership of overcoming this fear. And last time I checked in with him, he's been taking small steps. He's been doing smaller flights, getting more comfortable with it. And before you know it, they're going to be traveling around the world. So it's like that one little thing where you might not have the conversation. You might have the conversation the right way, or you might just dump the guy because he doesn't like to travel. It's like, just talk about it. Just have that direct conversation, say something, and see if you can get on the same page and build a little bit of alignment.
It goes back to something we just said, right? I mean, not a finished product. And when people say certain things about themselves, they're talking about how they've been in the past, not necessarily how they would like to be in the future. So I'm a bit of a homebody is a descriptor of how that guy's been, but it's not fully clear that that's how he wants to be forever. And let's be honest. I'm sure you've done it with Jessica. I've done it with my wife, Colleen. It's like, there's certain things I swore I would never do, but I've done for her.
Definitely.
Right? Like, so people change, and it's like when you're in love and things are going great in your relationship, you make compromises, and like, that's okay, but you can only get to compromise through communication. So that's important. All right. Ready for the fourth S?
Let's do it, dude.
Fourth S, support, but support them invisibly. Right. And so we all know what support looks like. It's celebrating each other's achievements, being there, telling them, I'll go pick up the kids. I'll go do this. I'll make dinner, whatever it is. Right. It's like telling them, I've got you. I'm here for you. Emotional encouragement, all that stuff. That's good. We want support in relationships. Here's the funny thing. The research shows that explicit, open, out in the open kind of support is good, but it's not great. Because when you're supporting somebody out in the open like that, like, I will take care of this for you. Don't worry about it. I know you're busy. I got this for you. It's nice, but it forces the person to admit that they need help. And that can be a little bit threatening, right? And so what's better is invisible support, where you do things kind of behind the scenes to help the other person without asking them if they need help, without saying, I know you need help and I'm going to do this. You just kind of, in the background, it's like that invisible personal assistant a little bit who's just doing a bunch of things. And so, this is, your partner's trying to eat healthy. You guys make healthier meals together, right? You don't insist on having cheesecake for dessert, right? It's just, we're going to be healthy. I'm not going to buy junk food to have around the house. It's, they're a little bit busy at work. So you just purposely take things off their plate that they don't have to do without them having to ask, or don't draw any attention to it. It's, listening to them and giving advice without throwing in the, I told you this was going to happen, right? Like, don't pile on. Just be there, be supportive, without calling attention to the support that you're giving.
Yeah. And I mean, look, this goes both ways. All right. This is not about just women giving men invisible support. For those of you who want to leave a comment on the podcast, this is a healthy relationship on both ends. This is where 1 + 1 = 3. When both of you in a relationship are supporting each other invisibly, then suddenly now both of your lives are vastly, vastly expanded. And that is truly what I believe a healthy relationship is. And that's why humans are monogamous in many ways. I mean, there's we could go down that rabbit hole, but ultimately that's why people are happier in long-term healthy relationships, because they have a partner who is supporting them, who is guiding them, who's making just their life a little bit easier with those small things. And you're doing the same in return. So I love this one. I think that's great.
I really appreciate, by the way, you kind of stepping in and reminding everybody that this is not just for women, that we're not just saying women go help men all the time.
Right.
Because,
I mean, there's some things that we say where if you say it, if we were talking to men and the women heard that, they'd be like, yes,
yeah,
exactly. Tell men that. And I'm like, well, yeah, it goes both ways. I mean, it really does go both ways. And look, all this will be easier once we start coaching men, because we do have plans at Love Strategies to bring in the guys at some point. It's probably next year type of thing.
I think the funniest part about it, because this is the one comment we'll get, right? Is like, you guys, you're saying women need to do all this. What about men? What about men? It's like, well, this happens to be a podcast for women. And so we're not talking to men. But like, for example, invisible support, if I was talking to men, I'd be a lot harsher about it.
Totally.
Right? Like, yo, you need to just start with visible support first, buddy. You don't do it nearly enough of that, and then we can start getting a little invisible with it. But like, let's start with the training wheels on, pal, and like, let's just do some basic stuff.
Dude, why do I keep calling you dude today? I'm having a dude day. Bro, when I was coaching men, and that was over 15 years ago now, I was brutal with them. Because you can just be, maybe it's just like locker room talk is the way that guys speak with one another. You can just be like, get your shit together.
Right.
Get it together.
Right.
Support her in every way that she needs it. She's having a tough day. Make her dinner and bring her flowers and do everything that just makes her life a little bit easier. You know, does she typically do the laundry? Do the laundry on that day. It's just the small little things that, look, that's what a partnership is. So I totally agree. And I'm kind of excited for that because there's a deep inner demon in Adam that in myself. That I love that harsh, tough love. And I don't know, you can do it more with men than with women.
We're gonna do another pod. One of our most successful podcasts of last year was the one where we talked about harsh truths. We're gonna have a follow up of that with a couple more harsh truths, tough love, all that kind of stuff. So
you gotta like catch me on a day. It like kind of depends on my day and my mood. Like I got a great night's sleep last night. I went to the gym. I'm in like a good love is great. Yeah. But you catch me on a tough day. Like sometimes with clients, and I know you have this as well. Yeah. Sometimes on a mastermind or when we're coaching our clients, it's just like, that's it. I've had it. I'm not hearing any of this. Like no.
I get it a lot now lately where, you know, one of our clients will be on a mastermind and say, Dr. Gary, can I need tough love with this one? You like tell me, like seriously, just like lay in it, like let me know. I'm like, okay, done. Love it.
I love those. And that is, I would say, that client is going to be exponentially more successful than one who tries to avoid the tough advice and the reality of the situation.
Right.
Like I think nowadays, and I know we're going on a tangent here, but I think nowadays a lot of people just want to hear what feels good rather than what actually gets them the results. And I really do pride our coaching staff in being willing to deliver it when they need it. Yeah. Because we have some really kind coaches, but they can also be pretty tough with a smile and with kindness because it comes from a place of genuine caring. Like it's only truly mean if it comes from a place of, I don't want you to succeed. Now that's just mean and that's negative and that's wrong. But if it comes from a place of, you can do better because I believe in you. I believe in you so much that what you're doing sucks and it's not working for you. And in fact, you're harming yourself. Get it together. Man, that can really hit the right nerve and it can create a lot of good action.
Well, I mean, to get nerdy about it, they show in research, the magic combination is high standards with support, right? Like that's really what you want. And so it's like, I say to clients all the time, like, I'm a little pushy. I'm pushy, right? In a nice way, because the relationship you want is on the other side of the work you're not yet willing to do. Right. And so you got to kind of like push you to do some of those things. And then once they do, what every single client says is, damn, I wish I would have done this sooner. Like every time I'm like, I know. And I'll even say like, you're going to wish you have done this sooner. So why not tomorrow? Like, why not tomorrow?
Right.
In any case,
I will say like, and not to continue this tangent, but I will say there are so many coaches in the love and dating space who I believe are sending the wrong message. I'm not going to name names, but if all of the focus is on you're perfect, you're amazing, you don't need to change, you are everything you need to be right now, I think that's doing a person a disservice. Because if they were all of those things, they would have what it is that they want to have. And it's removing ownership from the situation. And so I think, once again, like there's anything with being successful in anything in life is about taking radical ownership of your situation and realizing that you are in total control of your own results through the process. And I think that like, if there's anything we do here at Love Strategy is just reminding that point with our clients that like, you're in control, you are the owner of your current situation, which means you can get yourself out of that situation at any time that you decide.
Yeah. And I mean, what better way to take control of your life and actually start seeing results than realizing like, hey, I'm the driver here. I'm behind the wheel. Like, let's go.
Which just on the over 40 stuff, just to relate it to the very beginning, I think a lot of people in that 71% are allowing external reasons to dictate their current results. So they're saying, well, dating apps aren't geared for people over 40, or men don't want love if they're over 40, which statistically that's untrue, or men only want to date younger women. And they'll use all of these kind of reasons to then say, well, I don't want love, I'm just tapping out. But if we can just look at this from a position of none of that is true, even if it's partially true, just say it's not true. And because I can take ownership of the situation. Are there people out there who are in their 50s who have found an amazing partner for the rest of their life? Abso-freaking-lutely. So that's not true. So that means, what do I need to do in order to get there? And then suddenly you can go from that 71%, get in the 29% category of being like, yeah, I do want love because I got this. I can make this happen. It's just a shift in how we see the world. And I hope that everyone listening to this recognizes that just by being here right now, you are taking ownership because you're learning new things, which is amazing.
Yeah. And I think, part of learning new things is, I don't know, like refocusing on things that you don't think are important, right? And I think that's where, I left this last one for last intentionally because it's a little unexpected, right? So the fifth S to be successful in later life dating is silly. Be silly. And it's like, yes, I get it. Like, you're a grown-ass adult, right? So you're sophisticated, you're accomplished, you've done all these amazing things. Like, you're not a teenager anymore, but you're like so serious all day and so in charge and doing like all of this adulting all day nonstop. And it's like, you don't have to be that same person all the time. Like, you probably don't want to be in that role all the time. So, when you're dating, when you're with your partner, it's a sanctuary where you can like let loose and be yourself. And so be silly, be goofy, have fun, like laughter and lighthearted moments. I mean, that's what relationships are about. Like, that's what keeps things lively and keeps the balance. Like, life is going to throw at you plenty of serious stuff. You don't have to just be like your buttoned up serious self all the time. Like, embrace the inside jokes and the humor and all that kind of stuff. Like, that is the magic of relationships. And you just have to create enough space to let that magic happen.
Have a little bit of fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if this ever happens to you, Gary, but like when people ask me what I do, and I'm like, well, I work with some of the most powerful women on the planet and help them attract incredible relationships. And they tend to be in an older demographic, 50s, 60s and beyond. People are like, oh my God, like that must be really intense. Like that, those sound like very intense people. And I think they would say the same if it was men, by the way. Mm-hmm. But my experience, like at our events, when we have live events and our clients fly in, they are silly. They're goofy. They say things that I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe this.
Hilarious.
They're having so much fun. And if they can just embrace that, like, this is the only time I'll say these two words, the inner child, where they're just having a great time and just, just laughing along the way. Like, there's nothing more magnetic when you're dating than someone who can just be a little bit silly and a little bit goofy and not take life too seriously, Yeah,
it's like we say all the time. It's like so much about this conversation. I think some of that 71% stuff is people get age and it gets in their head, right? And it's not about age. It 100% is not about age. It's about youthfulness, right? It's about being youthful, that vitality, and being playful signals youthfulness. And both of those things signal attraction. And that's what we want, right? So be a little sassy, be a little sarcastic. Those are a couple other S's you can throw in there. But like, these are the types of things that lead to attraction. And don't worry about age. Worry about just being fun.
Yeah. And it's like, you hang out with I've been hanging out with my nephew a lot. He's 4. And he does things that you're just like, oh my God, why'd you do it? Like the other day, it was raining out. And we're walking, we had to like walk to the store, and he sees a big puddle and he just jumps right in, gets soaking wet and just starts laughing hysterically. And it goes from like, I gotta thread the needle here, but it is kind of like if you're out on a date and it's raining, how many of us have stepped in a puddle and we're like, oh, the night's over, my feet are wet, like this is awful. Or you could just like, You get wet, you laugh, and you're like, this is silly, and now I gotta be at the restaurant with my socks on. And you just laugh, and you enjoy yourself, and who cares? And you have those weird types of socks, not like the sexy socks that you were thinking people were gonna see, is like those, they have like teddy bears on it or something silly, and you laugh about it, and you enjoy it. And I think to your point with all of this, we can have very different identities in different roles in our life. And so, yeah, you're crushing it at work. You're crushing it in the executive leadership meeting. Of course, you're not going to be silly there. But you get off of work, you get into weekend mode. Oh my God, that's your time to just totally shift your identity, be a different person, have a little bit of fun, goof around. And the best part is you're going to attract guys that have that same mentality, and you're going to have a lot of fun with the rest of your life with a person like that. So with all that said, I hope the goal of this is to give you not only the idea that finding love is possible, but that it is probable. So if hopefully listening to these different ideas, you can think to yourself, oh my God, if I found a relationship like that with a partner like that, and I showed up in these ways, then suddenly now let's do this. This is exactly what it is that I want. And I'm ready to make it happen. So, Gary, this was super fun. I really appreciate these mindset shifts. And yeah, on to the next one. Excited for this stuff.
Thanks, Adam.